Hello, and thanks for looking in at this video. And making its way down the left side of the layout, just passing the rake of LMS coaches, already running today, is this 3 mixed traffic tank. This is a lovely Tri-ang model. I have shown it on my channel before, but if you haven't seen it, it's R.59, so it's a 262 mixed traffic tank, and this one is in a matte green BR livery with a running number 82004, and today I've got that pulling a rake of Wren wagons. Now those Wren wagons were parked up on the inner track loop last week, and at the back I've coupled on the little milk train that was in one of the sidings, so it's got quite a nice long rake of wagons, and it's making its way around the main line at a slow steady speed. So as we again come past the LMS coaches, in the last video I was trying out the second turntable in that gap there, the R.408U. Now the box for the turntable is left out on top of that mustard coloured dust sheet. Well, I was reading the comments, and it was pointed out to me that perhaps that wasn't the best place for it. I've been reconsidering the siting of the turntable after reading those comments and thinking about the accessibility of the turntable, so I'm trying it out in a different location on the layout. So we're going to take a look at that in a minute. Now just before we do, I'm interested in looking at my amp meter to see what the 3MT's drawing as it crawls around, so hopefully you can perhaps focus in on that. It's the blue figures we're interested in, and they never come out on the camera as well as they look in real life, but to me I think that looks like about 0.2425 of an amp, so a quarter of an amp being drawn at slow speed with a fair rake of wagons, so I pronounce that Loco fairly healthy. Okay, so how have I potentially incorporated this turntable? So I've got the outer downward main line, the inner one is the upward main line, and I can just hear the 3MT coming into range, so we'll watch it go over points G. Points G is where the bidirectional up and over branch line joins the upward main line. There, going by quite nicely. So let's follow this bidirectional branch line back a bit, and you can see that I've got 2 potential sidings off to the left. Well, they're quite useful just for storing either 1 or 2 wagons or a Loco. And then underneath the pedestrian bridge it divides off to the right. So at the moment I've got one fairly long siding which ends in a curve, and then here's the 408, the R.408U turntable. So unconventionally I've got the inlet to the turntable on one of the outlet tracks, but I think that adds to the interest. It will mean I've got to wire in probably a 3 or 4 position switch so I can select the tracks that are live, because normally the inlet is on this track, and these different rivets carry the voltage to the bridge and then on to the outlets, but the way I'm going to use it, I'm going to wire those differently. The turntable will still operate the same, but potentially I've got quite a nice area there for 1 Loco and 2 spurs. Now if I isolate those each halfway up, I've got 4 locomotives worth of storage, and I can imagine that would look nice with maybe a couple of Hornby 00 engine sheds on it, so I'm going to have a think about that. And also, with it sited here, I've got quite a lot of nice empty space each side of the turntable, perhaps to add some Tri-ang buildings from the collection eventually. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. Do you think that's a better place to put the turntable? I'm inclined to think it is. Great, so I'm just going to back up now so you can get an idea of how the Loco service and storage yard blends in with the potential new turntable. It gives that end of the layout quite a nice structure and almost a finished look. I think I say that rather hopefully, because with the amount of time I get, it's probably going to be a long time before this layout is anywhere near finished. Now, with the heat we've had over the last few days, I've not got any of the sidewalls on, but I have made progress with another project. So we're going over to the workbench in a minute to have a look. Now, someone pointed out a little while ago they've got problems with worn out pinpoint axle bearings in wagons and tenders. Now, I've got a couple of bogies I want to reuse. The only problem being with them is that the pinpoint axle bearings are absolutely shot. So I'm going to show you how I've been attempting to repair that and how far along I've got with it. And also, sorting out items for the layout, I've come across a couple of mail coaches. Now, I've not run many mail coaches, but they are great fun with the pick up and drop off of bags, and I do really intend getting a couple on the main line so we can have some mail coach action. So I've sorted out a few items which I'll show you, and eventually I hope to get running. So I think now I'll get the 3MT parked at the station and then we'll get over to the workbench. So I'm just going to get back to the controller. I need to reach down, ready to slow this nice freight service down. Now it's going round on the Upward Mainline into the station, so I think I'm going to just let it go through the canopy and then bring it to a halt, and then we'll get over to the workbench. Okay, well, I'm at the bench now. Now, apologies if some of these shots aren't very clear. So let's talk about these pinpoint axles. Now, the scenario I've got here is I've got a couple of very useful trailing bogies that will be quite good on some of my diesel locos that have pickups in. Now, they're in very bad shape. I'm going to try and show you some of the pinpoints on camera. So let me see if I can bring this into view, and hopefully you can see in there the wheels have been removed many times and the pinpoints are just very worn. Now, if I reverse this, I've already had a go on this, and I'll try and get this into the shot, and hopefully you can see just there and just there, there's no pinpoint visible. That's because I've filled it in and got it ready for re-drilling. Now, that's as far as I've got at the moment, and what I've used is a combination of things like that's just generic runny super glue, 3 for £1 from high street pound shops. That's what I use. I've also got a slightly better type of super glue. Now, incidentally, in the heat, both of these have gone absolutely rock hard. The heat's dried them out, so that's why I'm not doing any more. I need to replenish my super glue. So that's the glue I use, and there are other makes available. This is filler dust, and it's like grey or black granules, and if you apply the granules to the pinpoint holes, fill them up, and then 1 drop of super glue, and as soon as you've put the super glue on, a quick spray with a kicker or accelerator. This is the type I use, but many others are available, and it sets into a rock hard, fileable, drillable plastic substitute. So at the end of the day, you end up, and I am going to try just again, it's very difficult, you end up with a completely repaired pinpoint hole. Actually, which way up have I got that? Yep, that's correct. Let me just try again. So if I turn it around that way, you can see the existing quite damaged pinpoint, and then on this side I've got filled. Now, I'm wondering about the best way of redoing these holes. It's very difficult. Obviously, if I try and drill at the angle there, I'm not going to get a brilliant refinish. I would imagine they're cast in the moulding, so I'm going to have to develop a way of machining those. So how I think I'm going to do it, and I welcome suggestions, but I'm going to use one of my jeweler's drills, and right in the centre of this axle box I'm going to drill a 0.5 millimetre hole, which will come through to the other side and give me my starting position. I will then just fill that up with a little bit of putty, or even a granule or two of the filler granules. Let me just show you again this stuff, and then a dab of super glue and just refinish it. I just think if I drill through from outside I'll get a very accurate starting position, and then I can countersink it with a custom drill bit or something that I will make. I'm going to keep you informed about that, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a great way of making these and all other pinpoint axles that are worn out reusable. So you'll have to let me know what you think about that idea, and I will keep you updated. Now let's just have a look at a couple of other items. Here's a bit of Super 4 that's been replated. Now this, let's go Hornby 000 for a start. Now I found in my box of bits quite a nice Hornby 000 2-rail mail coach. Now it's got metal one side and nylon the other, and different from the Tri-ang and Hornby, it's actually got a current pickup, because the operation of this is by solenoid, and it picks up the extra current on this rail. Now this is a 2-rail pickup and drop off point. Now I don't want to damage this. It's designed to fit Hornby 000 2-rail track and not Super 4, so the fittings don't line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bit of bespoke Super 4. I'm not going to do anything to the original fittings on the Hornby 000 item because it's quite precious, but I can find a piece of Super 4 and adapt it so this can clip to it. So that's how I'm going to get this really quite attractive looking mail coach running on my Super 4 layout. Now I think if I get that in with my super detail red or maroon LMS coaches, it's going to make a very attractive train, so I'm looking forward to that. So let's just move those out of the way. And finally I'm going to show you a few Tri-ang items I've just found. Now excuse the dust on them, some of them have been in super long-term storage, so we'll start with these two. And this is a nice early Royal Mail coach from Tri-ang. Operates using levers. One lever opens the door that side, and then the other lever opens that. So it's purely mechanical. Obviously really quite large flanges, open axle boxes, and you can see the elderly Mark II couplings there. So that's quite an early coach, probably from the mid to late 50s. So that's the oldest one I've got. Then I've got a slightly newer version of this with tension lock couplings, but exactly the same method of operation. So they're going to be great fun to get going. Very coarse wheels still. Now I found this Transcontinental mail coach. I don't have a lot of Transcontinental items, got the odd bit here and there. That's a really attractive thing, isn't it? A bright sort of orangey red Transcontinental on the side, open axle boxes, again heavily flanged wheels, but I think that'll look good running. Though I haven't got any Transcontinental coaches, but I might have a hospital car or a baggage car. They're all different colours, but they'll make a very bright train, so that's something to look forward to. And then finally the other mail coaches I've got are these slightly more modern late 60s early 70s Tri-ang and Tri-ang Hornby examples. Now I have run these on the layout before in my mail train, but they weren't operating, so I need to find some trackside equipment, which I'll have in my box somewhere, and probably on maybe one main line I'll incorporate the Hornby 000 apparatus, and then on the other main line I'll get some Tri-ang apparatus, so we can have fun operating all these different types of mail coaches. Well, that's what I'm sort of doing at the moment, apart from the other items I talked about in the last video. which now it's cooling down up here, I'll hopefully be able to get on with, and I shall be checking the post to see if my chemicals have arrived. But right now we're coming to the end of the video. I'm going to edit in 2 or 3 minutes of running of the 3MT tank, pulling the Wren wagons, and the brush type 2 pulling the fuel train. So just to finish the video off, we'll have a little bit of running on both the main lines at quite slow speeds. So I'm going to put that on now, and until the next video, I'll say goodbye.